That is our primary concern. Is of course to ensure that the families and relatives of the 20 U.S. strong crew they get the support that they require, of course, in this situation. So the MAERSK Alabama was sailing for Maersk Line on an East Africa service. It's a container vessel, a small feeder vessel. It can carry around 1,100 20-foot containers. It's owned and operated by a daughter company of the A.P. Moller-Maersk Group. It's Maersk Line Limited, a U.S.-based company.
Can you tell us more about what this ship was carrying at the time?
The ship is presumably carrying a general cargo. That can be anything that you and I use in our daily lives. Especially to East Africa, a lot of the cargo is aid cargo, so we would presume it's carrying mostly aid cargo.
MAERSK Line Limited is headquarters here in Norfolk. We have an office in Washington, D.C. We're part of the A.P. Moller Group, which operates vessels around the world. What we do is operate U.S. flag vessels. The MAERSK Alabama is one of the vessels we operate. Around 12 hours ago, at 12:30, we were notified that the vessel was boarded by pirates. We've had set up a crisis center through the night. We've been working with the governmental agencies and trying to get as much information out as we can. About 350 miles off the coast, she was boarded by pirates. She was bound for Mombasa, carrying aid cargo. The total cargo on the vessel was aid cargo, or relief cargo for various agencies headed for Africa. We had one communication earlier today from the crew, and we were told the crew is safe. Our priority in all of this has been to keep our crew safe and do what we can to communicate with the crew's families and to work to get them safely returned. We have tried to make sure that everybody knows what has happened thus far, and at this point, I will just come back and take your questions.
Is that true?
Speculation is a dangerous thing when you're in a fluid environment. I will not confirm that the crew has retaken the ship. I think it would be inappropriate at this time. When there is something definitive, we will release that information to the media. The ship is home ported here in Norfolk, but she's doing a feeder service, so mostly she stays there. All of the crew members are U.S. citizens. They work for 3 unions. We started early this morning calling all the families. We want to keep the families updated. We set up a crisis hotline for the families to call in and get status reports from the company on what is happening. All the crews are trained in security details on how to deal with piracy by way of speed, by the way we operate. But as merchant vessels, we do not carry arms. We have ways to push back, but we do not carry arms.
And we've heard some of those ways, fire hoses. Can you tell us some of the other means to which you use to repel the fire?
Well, first of all, speed and freeboard are 2 things you try to do. You operate at a fast pace so you can outrun them. The freeboard makes it harder for the pirates to board. Keeping in communication with the Navy and the details about your location and your venue. Extra watch so that you can see out and project. This is the first U.S. flag vessel that has been taken by pirates, folks. So I think our preventative measures have been responsible as a ship owner, and our crews have performed bravely.
Who are the organizations that you were delivering the food for?
I have a list, but you know, it was USAID, Catholic Relief, World Food, and then I have a different list. I don't have all of them on top of my head.
There are no casualties.
We were informed within the last hour and a half that all the crew members were safe. The pirates haven't spoken to us yet, and the crew just said they were safe. It was a very brief message. Policies of international trade are set by the governments, not by the ship operators. So I think we have to allow the governments to keep looking at the escalation of piracy to come up with a global or an international protocol that is acceptable. And it's being reviewed. I mean, we've had members of our staff on committees with the Coast Guard and the Navy and others talking from a commercial perspective what's going on with piracy. I think it's being looked at, but it's premature for me to comment on what the policy should be.
It's like what you said, free and open trade all around the world, and also safe trade.
That is kind of the basis of trade. We need it to be safe sea lane. Yeah, obviously, first thing we do is we set up a crisis room. The crisis room has connections to all the other parts of our company, as well as secure means of communication with the government regulatory organizations. Secondly, it is the way we can communicate with the crew. We keep running logs of all the activities. We're reaching out to the unions to make sure that we're sharing our data as it comes in. We're operating with a standard set of procedures and protocol to protect the crew, which is our primary concern.
So to get back to our breaking news this morning, armed pirates still holding the captain of that American freighter, the MAERSK Alabama. The captain's name is Richard Phillips. He's a 53-year-old father of two from Vermont. He's their final bargaining chip, the pirates I speak of, their last hope for any sort of payday. They're currently holding him on a 28-foot lifeboat. Now, a Navy destroyer, the USS Bainbridge, is near the scene. The Navy is not expected to intervene, but will not allow that lifeboat to leave with that hostage.
The situation is getting more dramatic and more worrisome off Somalia. Captain Richard Phillips got away from 4 pirates, jumped out of the lifeboat where he's being held, and apparently tried to swim to the U.S. Navy warship that's nearby. That according to a U.S. official. But pirates jumped in after the captain.
Here you can see behind me, this is the crew of the MAERSK Alabama. Now they have come to the side of the ship here, which is now docked here in Mombasa, Kenya. An extraordinary situation that they've been through.
As I think you all know, the MAERSK Alabama has docked in Mombasa. The crew is safe. Now that the ship is berthed in the safe area of the port, we want to thank the government of Kenya for their efforts to help bring the ship safely in. They've been a great assistance. Because of the pirate attack, the FBI has informed us that this ship is a crime scene. Therefore, we have to allow the FBI to begin the process to investigate the crime. The company, the crew, is cooperating with the FBI to make sure it's expedited. Earlier today, I spoke with the vessel before she docked. I talked with First Mate Shane Murphy. What I expressed to Shane and to the crew was our sincere appreciation for their brilliant efforts and their bravery during this very difficult time. They've showed the professionalism of a true mariner. We're proud of the whole crew. Also, when we talked to Shane and the crew, we thanked them for their dedication and asked them how the crew was doing, and we got good reports back on the entire crew. One of the things they did ask is make sure we do everything we can to bring home their captain. So therefore, our hearts, the crew's hearts, those of us ashore, they remain with the families of those that have not been reunited, and particularly with the family of Captain Richard Phillips. We stay pretty close in touch with Andrea. I spoke with her earlier today. She had sent a message out to you yesterday, and also a message to her husband last night. She's a very brave woman. She's got support around, and we're trying to make sure that she's protected. This is an FBI program. They're in control. It has moved from the rescue, now investigation. After the investigation, we then move to repatriation, which is bringing our heroes home. When I spoke to the crew, they won't consider it done when they board a plane and come home. They won't consider it done until the captain's back, nor will we. I have to tell you how grateful I am for our government agencies, the Navy, the FBI. Every governmental agency has been brilliant and working tirelessly to help with the rescue of our crew, their safe return, and also the efforts to negotiate the release of Richard Phillips. I also can't thank those of my staff ashore here and the talented team in Mombasa for what they're doing to bring this ship home and help with Richard's recovery. As the investigation with the FBI is concluded, we will then work to bring all of our crew home. We feel it's the most humane way to get them reunited with their families. We have had tremendous support from the public. The outpouring of prayers, support, is from around the world, and it is greatly, greatly appreciated by the company, by the crew, and by their families. This is a good press conference. This is a good moment. I can't tell you how pleased we are to announce to you and to the nation that Captain Richard Phillips is safe. He has been rescued, and he is now being prepared to be brought home to his family. This is a great day for all of us, for Andrea, for Richard, their family, for the American maritime industry, for MAERSK Line Limited, for this nation. It is truly, truly a wonderful moment. The government, the Navy, and the FBI, and a host of federal agencies performed at the highest level and tirelessly executed every step that needed to be done and cooperated with us as industry and the maritime labor unions to deliver this success. Now, Richard exemplifies some of the best traditions and behaviors and skills of an American merchant mariner. He persevered through difficult times, and he's shown real heroism. We're making all the arrangements to fly everybody home, to get them reunited, so they can find some peace and order in their lives after this very harrowing experience.
Saturday wore on. The pirates became more agitated. A defense official says shots were fired, and the pirates were demanding ransom.
And to make their point, they were threatening throughout to kill the captain.
Out of fuel, the lifeboat was now being towed 90 feet behind the USS Bainbridge. Early Saturday night Eastern Time, one of the pirates was shuttled to the Bainbridge for medical treatment. Captain Phillips was tied up in the lifeboat. At one point, a Navy SEAL team had parachuted in and took up positions on the back deck of the Bainbridge. As the weather got rougher, negotiations broke down.
And the snipers positioned on the fantail of the Bainbridge observed one of the pirates in the pilot house and two pirates with their head and shoulders exposed, and one of the pirates had the AK-47 leveled at the captain's back.
The on-scene commander believed the pirate was about to fire, so the Navy snipers shot first.
After a long flight from Kenya, the crew of the MAERSK Alabama back on home soil. Arriving at Andrews Air Force Base at 1 a.m. and met by wives, sons, daughters, fathers, and mothers who'd come from across the country for an emotional reunion.
Just before 4:30 Friday, Captain Phillips' plane touched down. He was quickly cleared through customs on board.
If you see the military, you can thank them for me. They're doing an impossible job. I would not be here without them. I'd like to thank MAERSK and particularly Mr. Moeller for doing everything he's done for me since day one, since this started early in the morning of the 8th. I can't stress enough how much they've done for me, for my family, for my kids, Dan, Mariah, my mother, and I am just impressed to be able to work for a company like that who's done so much for me. And Mr. Moeller, especially for going all out and doing everything for me that he's done.
Captain Phillips returned home to Underhill early Friday evening, but before settling in for the